Welcome everybody back. Did I not go live? Okay.
It's live, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what happened. It didn't go at first. Okay, there we go. Welcome everybody back to Friar Talk. Today we're going live talking about this most recent series. It's been a couple weeks since it went live. Our last video is actually the Padres are on fire. Then they cooled way off right before the All-Star break. Then we had a few days off for the All-Star break. Now we're coming back around. And this is a big series win. I mean, you're going into Cleveland. The Guardians are a good team. They're one of the better teams in the AL. They're like pretty much they're a better team than the Yankees right now, actually. Which the Yankees were the top dogs for a while. But it's looking pretty good for where they're at right now. I know that like a couple weeks ago, you're a few games up in the wild card spot, and you're just kind of like, okay, like you're chilling, and then they kind of fall apart. And it's kind of been what we've seen a lot. We've seen a lot of highs, a lot of lows, just kind of back and forth. But after Friday's game, it looked like, oh, it might get really, really ugly. Turns out, didn't end up being that bad. They end up bouncing back. Really, really good pitching this weekend. You're still hoping some guys get hot. You're waiting for guys to come back from injury, or Darvish, he's out. He's just out on a basically like, I don't know, inactive list. Basically, I forgot what the actual term is for it. But you're just kind of saying, let's stay alive till August, and let's finally beat the Rockies in August. That's kind of what Isaac and I were just talking about before here. The August schedule is super easy, and that's really what's going to make or break this Padres, this basically making the postseason. But Isaac, how you feeling right now? You were out of town, I was out of town, so we haven't really talked about the Padres in a long time, so we cannot kind of just go through everything right now. But yeah, offense, pitching, what are you feeling right now?
The pitching was great in this Cleveland series. Matt Waldron went 6 strong. I think he actually went 6 innings, 1 run earned. Dylan Cease went 7, no earned runs. Michael King goes 7, no earned runs. I mean, it was a really great 3 outings for the Padres these past few days. And then, of course, these past 2 days, you got good outings from the bullpen as well. We only allowed 1 run these past 2 days, and I think only 3 hits over the past 2 days against the best home team in baseball. And at the time, the best team in the American League. So it was a huge series win. I only expected to win 1 game against them, and I expected it to be like what it was today, 2-1. But you take 2 games. That's the first series that the Guardians have lost at home all year. So I don't know, man. The Padres, at least out of the All-Star break, they looked really good. I know the first day didn't look too good. The lineup was they were out of it. Merrill struck out 4 times. Nobody looked good. Sorry to single out Merrill. But point is, golden sombrero. But honestly, everyone looked good these past 2 days. 8 hits today, 7 runs yesterday. Jake Cronenworth goes deep. Manny has a huge clutch play where he gets Jose Ramirez out at second today. Not going to say that was the difference between a run or not, but I would say that was probably the difference between a run or not coming in. Between a tie game and it's a game that we ended up winning. For some reason, there's always, these past 3 years, there's something AJ Preller's really good at. Finding a random catcher that ends up being really good for the Padres. Jorge Alfaro maybe wasn't that good, but he was super clutch, and he won the Padres quite a few games. And then Gary Sanchez ends up having a really, really good season for the Padres. And then the throw-in the Juan Soto trade, Kyle Higashioka. He's been on a tear. It looks right now like he's getting most of the playing time over Luis Campusano, and it looks like it's going to be the case for the near future. He looks really good at the plate. Basically, the main reason we won today was because of the Juan Soto trade, which was Michael King going 7 shutty, flirting with a no-hitter through 6 innings, and Kyle Higashioka hitting a 2-run double. So that was very, very entertaining to see. Other than that, you got home runs from Jake Cronenworth. I think that was the only home run from the Padres this series. David Peralta also hit a home run, I believe. David Peralta, I don't know if you guys have looked into his numbers lately, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he's looked pretty damn good lately. Who else has looked good at the plate? Of course, Jurickson Profar. I don't know. The Padres lineup, we know it has a lot of potential. It's a very potent lineup. They went cold over their stretch where they lost 7 of 8 games, something like that. But we know it's a very strong lineup. If it wasn't a strong lineup, then we'd be looking at lineup help. But I think all of us know the Padres don't really need lineup help. The best lineup help they're going to get is when Fernando Tatis Jr. comes back. Um, and honestly, if Musgrove and Darvish were healthy and pitching right now, I don't think we'd be looking at starting rotation help either. I think they're great pitchers. Um, I think right now what we're for sure going to be looking at the deadline is going to be relievers, and whether that be lefty relievers, righty relievers, I don't really care. We just need guys up there, but preferably a lefty. Matt and I were just talking about this, how it's very scary when you have Yuki Matsui or Wandy Peralta coming up in big time situations, because they haven't shown us that they're very good in those big situations. Yuki, because he can't get many strikeouts, it's a lot of hard contact off of him. And Wandy Peralta, because I don't even know what it is. He just doesn't look good in situations where he comes in and there's runners on. So obviously the big ticket guy in the market is probably going to be Tanner Scott. That's the guy we're going to be looking at. But other than that, man, I'm happy with the Padres series over the Guardians. Obviously, none of us are happy over that stretch where they lost 7 of 8 games after Manny's walk off against the Diamondbacks, but can't go back on that. We just got to be happy with the result that they produced against the best home team in baseball, and at the time, the best American League team in baseball.
No, it's definitely true, and we do have a couple questions about really just about like the trade deadline and some targets and stuff. So we'll get into those guys in a little bit, but you also brought up like the rotation and stuff. Well, first you talk about the lineup, talking about, it's kind of been up and down. Obviously, there's guys that have not been too good, and it honestly is the same as last year. I know that their numbers looked a little bit better at the end of the year, but Xander Bogaerts and Manny Machado were kind of black holes last year, and it's kind of been the same thing this year, if we're being honest. I mean, Xander's been hurt. They've both been hurt, but they've also not been good. Kind of big differences this year, hitting wise, is you have Jackson Merrill, who he's been slumping a little bit lately, but over the course of the entire season, he's been awesome. And that's a lot better than Trent Grisham. You've had Jurickson Profar almost replace Machado's production, which is pretty crazy to say. Also, did you see his shirt? Vibes above replacement.
Yes, that's what he is, bro.
Yeah, it is. It's what he is, and yeah, it was pretty hilarious. But obviously, he's been amazing. Cronenworth has been a lot better this year, and he has games where he's not that good, but he looks like he's back to 2022, 2021 Cronenworth. It looks like last season was more of a fluke, because you look at all of his years and you're like, okay, well, he's been more like that hitter. He's been an above average to good hitter every single year, good defender as well, versatile player, like just a player. And all of a sudden, that contract, no one talks about that contract being an issue anymore. No one at all. No one's talking about that. That's not a thing. Catching's been okay. Definitely a lot better than Austin Nola. Definitely an upgrade there. What else am I missing? Luis Ariz. He hasn't been as good since he's been fielding. My hope is that with Xander Bogaerts back, and especially as Xander kind of gets more healthy, we're going to see him at second. We're going to see Cronenworth back at first, and we're going to see Ariz DH a little bit more, which I do think is better for him, because and maybe it's because he kind of messed up his shoulder or whatever, but I also feel like he's just better when he's DHing. Like, he literally only focuses on doing what he does best, and he is basically just like, okay, dude, go out there and be a one-tool player and just do that. That's all you got to do. Is all you got to focus on. That you just got to lock in and do that. So hopefully that is something where he kind of not like he's been bad, but it's like, I wanted that dude to hit 340, 350. That's amazing if he can do that at the top of the lineup. So, but he's still a great hitter, obviously. But then it's really just like a couple guys that have just not been good. It's really just Manny and Xander, which really sucks, because that's where all your money is tied into. Getting Tatis back going to be absolutely massive. And then you went to the rotation. You talked about having Darvish and Musgrove. We talked about, hey, if those guys are healthy, you're not even probably looking for an arm at the deadline. Darvish, big time TBD. Musgrove, yeah. I would not feel safe banking on Musgrove. I'll be 100% honest. I think that is really risky. However, Matt Waldron, who we did not think should have been the fifth starter, absolutely should have been the fifth starter. Right? Well, either worse. We say this every time. If we're wrong, we want to be wrong if we're not being positive about guys. Yeah. Yep, he's been great. He has a mid-3s ERA. Dylan Cease has bounced back. He's been really good lately. Same thing with Michael King. So you got those three, right? Well, Randy Vasquez is also looking a lot better lately. So if you are going to get Darvish back, which they don't know, but if you're going to get Darvish back or you're going to get Musgrove back, you don't need a starter that bad. Is it good to have an extra guy in case someone goes down? Absolutely 100%. And honestly, you can kind of look and be like, dude, this is why you need more depth in your farm system for guys being able to come up. You look at a lot of these teams, like, I mean, look at like the Dodgers this year and last year, like, and that's kind of how their season ended. But dude, they have so many injuries pitching wise, so many, and they're still able to hang in there. They're still in a first place team because they just call guys up and it's like, all right, whatever. We're just gonna have this guy come in. We're gonna put Tyler Anderson. We're gonna have him start this year. He's gonna be amazing. And I also saw there's a question on him, but it is interesting. Like they need to figure that out as an organizational standpoint, not for this year necessarily, but for future years. That needs to be a thing that is thought about. And then you kind of look at it and you're like, okay, well, your fourth and fifth spot are kind of where you've had struggles this year. That's where you've really like not been good. And then your bullpen's blown some games. So going back to these questions about the trade deadline, we have a couple. First one right here. I like to get Tanner Scott, Kikuchi, Eric Fady, and then also how much better? Also, thank you for the super chat. How much better would the Padres be with Pete Fairbanks or Tyler Anderson and Tyler Anderson? So Tyler Anderson, I see him getting brought up quite a bit here. I see Tanner Scott getting brought up. Kikuchi, we've talked about him in the past. Pete Fairbanks, I don't think we've really talked about him at all. He's on the Rays. He's put up a good year. I mean, he's definitely like he's closing a lot of games for them. He did last year too. He's a solid guy that you could go and add. He is a righty, so that'd be the only thing. It's like you do want to go get a lefty. But yeah, like what are you thinking right now? And we probably will do I think we'll end up doing an episode maybe this week on this, just because like we want to talk about a couple guys, especially bullpen related. But just looking at it right now, Isaac, like who are the guys that you're like, all right, I got to circle that name. Like they need to go after him. This guy's not going to be expensive. This guy and that. Like, who are you thinking?
If
I think you cut out.
I don't know what's going on with my mic, but it's a little weird.
It's back now.
Yeah. But if there was a guy I'm looking at, I said it earlier, Tanner Scott's my number one option. I think back when we were first talking about how the Padres were interested in Luzardo and Arias, I was thinking more along the lines of, okay, well, I want Tanner Scott more than I want either of them, and that still remains the case. I really want Tanner Scott, man. I think you're looking at a bullpen that is super shaky when it comes to lefty guys. When you're playing the Dodgers and you got to face Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman, not that Freddie Freeman's bad against lefties, but ideally you want a lefty on the mound. Ideally you want a good lefty on the mound. That would be Tanner Scott. Now, I haven't looked too much into lefty or arms out of the bullpen in general. I know Eric Fed I think that's how you say his name, from the White Sox is throwing really well. I believe he's last time I checked, he was under 3 ERA. Of course, career-wise, he's never been that good, but this year he looks really good. I don't know what his contract looks like. I can imagine he would be cheap. Just because there's going to be better arms than him out on the market, and I think he's not going to be one of the more sought-after guys. I think he's going to be more of the, oh, well, we need a pitcher, but we don't need a star. Let's go get him. And there's going to be some good names on the market, man. There's going to be Garrett Crochet, Tariq Skubal from the Tigers has been tossed around. I don't think he'll go anywhere. If he is on the market for some reason, I can't imagine why he'd be on the market. That'd be super strange to me. But if he is, that's another big ticket guy. Jack Flaherty is for sure going to be on the market. Tyler Anderson's look really good. So there's some really, really good guys on the market that the Padres have a ton of options to choose from. Now, if I were to prioritize anything at the deadline, it's the bullpen. You look at especially this past series, and you're saying, hey, I mean, the Padres were in that ball game. They ended up scoring no runs, but it was a 1-0 ball game up until the bullpen came in there. And that's been the case for some of these games, man, where the Padres are in the game and then they have to throw Matsui or Peralta or Kolek or something along those lines, and they end up blowing it. And it's a harsh reality because I like Peralta, I like Yuki. Kolek was starting to come around, but in reality, they're just not arms that you're very excited to see coming out of the bullpen. Um, and I think the best thing for the Padres to do right now is to go get some arms, and specifically in the bullpen, man. Obviously, the first one out would probably be, um, shoot, I forgot his name. The lefty, what's his last name? Adams. I forgot his last name. But he's a lefty, and maybe the other righty. Damn it, I already forgot his name, Matt. We were just talking about it earlier. Sean Reynolds. Um, I can imagine those two would be the first two out. The question on the screen, of course, is how much better would the Padres be with Pete Fairbanks and Tyler Anderson? Tyler Anderson, he's a tough one, man, because I'm pretty sure if you get him, you have to have him for the remainder of the year, and you have to have him next year. I say have to because I'm not entirely sold on Tyler Anderson. I've never been. He was really good with the Dodgers. He's really good with the Angels right now, but I don't know, man. I've never been a big Tyler Anderson fan, and I don't know how he would do. I mean, it's a pitcher's ballpark, which is great, but um, I think someone else would fit the Padres better.
I
Um,
I feel the same way because I mean, like, look, Tyler Anderson's having a great year, but I don't know if you saw this. He's also on a 3-year, $39 million deal.
yeah, I don't
He's in
feel
the
comfortable
first
with that.
year,
Hmm.
so you're gonna have him for 2 more years. He's 34 years old. He's probably gonna cost a decent amount. Like, I'd rather probably go after a Kikuchi, right?
Kikuchi, I like Flaherty. I like Fed. I don't really like Anderson, if I'm going to be completely honest. Fairbanks is good. Obviously, that's a bullpen arm that could help the Padres. I mean, we always do some sort of episode or live where we study up on guys that we think would be good for the Padres and um, talk about them and who we'd give up for them. So I can imagine we're going to be doing that here sometime soon. So stay tuned for that. But off the top of my head, I know a lot of the trade rumors right now in the NL West specifically the Padres and the Dodgers, is revolving around Garrett Crochet, and in the Dodgers organization specifically, it's Garrett Crochet and Luis Robert Jr. For us, it's just Garrett Crochet. Now, um, it's a little weird. I know Garrett Crochet has had some talks where he might be on an innings limit because he's never gone that many innings before. We're not in need of Robert Jr. That's more of a luxury piece than anything else, and I don't desire him. I know he's a great baseball player, but really, Profar playing great. I mean, maybe in the future years, you're looking and you're saying, "Hey, Robert Jr. would be a great piece for the Padres to have," but that depends, man. Are you willing to give up DeVries? Are you willing to give up Salas, Snelling, Lesko, any of those kind of guys? I realistically think one of those guys are going to be gone if you're going for a star at the deadline. Um, that depends on AJ Preller. Does AJ Preller think he's fighting for his job for the future? If he's not, I don't really know if he'd be willing to give up any of those guys. I hope he's fighting for his job in the future because 10 years in and you're looking at one playoff appearance. You could say two, but really I don't care about that 2021. You're not looking at a successful 10 years, so he has to make the playoffs this year. But as far as the top guys go, you're looking at Crochet, Robert Jr., the other arms we've mentioned. I don't know what bats are going to be on the market, but the Padres don't really need a bat. So I can imagine the bulk of our trade deadline video is going to be about pitching. So we'll see who we talk about.
Yeah, and I think you see this in the comments. We saw us today.
We
This
just
is a
talked.
big one.
Yep,
So
we
a
just talked
lot
about
of
it.
people, are talking about this. Trading Kim. Isaac and I were talking about it. We saw someone saying trading Kim to the Braves. That's just not going to
The
happen. I
Braves
mean,
doesn't
why
make
would you
sense.
trade him to the Braves? You're in a race with them for the playoffs, especially because Ozzy Albies is now injured. So why would you give them ammo when they already beat down a lot? Like, the Braves are super injured. They're kind of a shell of themselves. You're only sitting 4 games back from the Braves right now. And right now the Padres are sitting tied for that third wild card spot. The Cardinals are a game and a half above the Braves above the Padres, Mets, and I forget who else it is. And then the Braves are 4 games above Padres, Mets, and I forget who it is. I forget who the other team is. I have it right here. Diamondbacks, duh. And then also the Pirates are only a half game back behind those 3 teams. So it is a very tight race, and the Braves are by no means just oh yeah, they're just a shoe-in, they're above everyone. They could easily get taken over 100%. So I don't think it makes any sense to trade them there. However, I see this right here from Devin. Kim is not really going to net that much value. He is a guy who gives you a sense of rally. I don't think they're going to trade Kim. I don't think they're going to do that because I don't think they want to. They don't. I don't really think like why would you? I just don't think they're going to move him. Like he's a good defender. He hits at the bottom of your lineup. He's not like a bad hitter. He's been like kind of average, a little bit below average this year, but it's like he's been probably above average over the past 3 years now. Let's see what his numbers are right now. I mean, he has under a 700 OPS. He's kind of been pumping lately. To
I
be fair.
saw a graphic earlier today that said each team's worst hitter, and ours is Ha-Seong Kim. Qualified. You have to be qualified, so it can't be like David Peralta or anything like that. You have to be qualified for the metric, and the worst one was Ha-Seong Kim, which makes sense to me. If we're being honest, he hasn't been good.
No, let's see, dude. I'm gonna pull up his savant right now. I want to see like how bad it is. But he's taken I mean, dude, they were talking about him getting like almost like a $200 million deal next year in free agency. That's not going to be the case.
Mm-mm.
So he has a 98 OPS plus. It's not that bad actually. Especially for a guy that's like such a plus defender.
Yeah.
I mean, and look, he's still a guy. I know people are like he's struggled on defense. Like he's still putting up good numbers.
Yeah,
it's just not like his 99 that he usually does. I mean, his stuff is kind of still here. Like look at this. Like his savant page is going to look pretty similar. Watch. I mean, last year it is bad.
It was bad.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, he's just not a good bat. Like, he's a good defender. That's what he is. He's a good defender. He gives you plus speed. He's an average hitter. He's like 708, 749, and so far this year, just under 700. Like, pretty average. But I mean, I don't think. I mean, I think you, in theory, like, does it make sense to potentially flip him and go get some arms and do some stuff like that? Because Solano's been good. Yeah, it does, but I don't think they will do that. I think they want to have Solano as bench depth, and if you have Solano and Peralta as bench depth, that's actually really good. Like Peralta's been pretty damn good lately, stepping in for Fernando, but I don't think we're gonna. I don't think we're gonna see him moved, even though I know a lot of people are talking about it. Half year on his deal, but also Devin, I was gonna say. I don't think it's true that he's not going to net a lot of value. I think you could do something where you are getting arms or are doing something like you're almost like just kind of adjusting your team a little bit because a lot of teams don't have good middle infielders. Like a lot of teams are lacking that. Padres are not one of those teams, as we know. AJ Preller only likes to draft his shortstops. But they are. That's kind of like a big need around the league. So I could see something like that going down. Like other teams would be interested, other teams would be willing to pay it, but I don't think the Padres side is going to want to move on from him. That's just not what I would be expecting. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with there. Isaac, what else are you thinking, man? Are you thinking about for this team? It's been a while. We've had a lot going on.
I'm going to go back to Kim because today's the first day that I've seen anything regarding Kim. I don't expect him to be moved. If he's moved, I understand it. You do downgrade quite a bit defensively. You're going to end up putting Xander Bogaerts at short. You're gonna end up putting Jake at second is a huge upgrade to me over Xander at second, and then Arise is gonna have to play first base. But I don't anticipate it happening. I think Kim is on his last year unless he agrees to the mutual option next year. But if I were him, I wouldn't take it. But considering the season he's having, I mean, he's a glove for his guy. If Dansby Swanson got as much money as he did, I can't imagine Kim would get much less. But Dansby Swanson had a pretty good year the year before he got signed to the Cubs. So I don't really know what to expect from when it comes to a Ha-Seong Kim deal. I will tell you, it should not be with the Padres. The Padres should not extend him. Is going to end up looking like a really good contract for $7 million a year, where he gradually got better and his defense was fantastic and he was a clubhouse presence that everyone loved. No one will end up liking that contract if he signed back to the Padres. So he should not be a Padre if he's not going to take that mutual option. And I know that's. Go ahead.
I was just going to say he's not going to take it.
I don't. Yeah.
So if he took it, he gets paid $7 million next year,
$7
right?
million. Yep.
If he doesn't take it, he still gets a $2 million buyout. So it's a $5 million.
Yep.
You think he's not going to make $5 million on the open market?
Yep.
Yeah, he's going to with more guarantees. You know what I mean? Like it's 100%.
Yep. Yeah,
exactly.
I don't really see him taking it, so it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense on his side to take the mutual option. It doesn't make any sense on our side to re-sign Ha-Seong Kim. There's better routes out there, and I've talked about this at length before. I do like Ha-Seong Kim, but um, there's a team out there that has a ton of bats that can slug, that can hit, that can use Ha-Seong Kim defensively. He fits a team that needs a defense first guy or that can slug from top to bottom. He doesn't. I believed this coming into this year. I believed it last year. As much as I liked him, I thought we needed more power. I thought we needed a guy that can slug at shortstop, um, or a guy that can at least, I think towards the end of last year, he didn't have a great end of the year. But I, I just thought there were better options for the Padres, is what I'm trying to say. Nothing against him. I really like him. I think he's been great at everything outside of what he's done at the plate. Defensively, at times, it looked like he struggled, but you look at the Savant page and it's at 96 percentile, and he's one of the best defenders in baseball still. Base running, he's a great base runner. He's got speed. He can take a bag whenever you need. He's got a good arm. Really, everything has been good for him outside of his presence at the plate. So, I don't see the Padres moving off of him, but if they did it, I would understand. It would be a gut punch to a lot of fans because I know a lot of fans love him, but um, I would understand the move. But again, that's not really, that doesn't really do much, right? And that's only going to be if you really need a trade piece. If you really need a trade piece for a rental, if you need, I mean, I just looked up Tanner Scott. I keep talking about him, but this is his last year on his deal. I can't imagine he would cost a lot, and I can't imagine the Marlins would want Ha-Seong Kim. But I don't know what you give up for Tanner Scott. Probably somewhere along the lines of a top 10, top 15 prospect. Which is kind of a lot for a rental, but it's a rental that is going to be damn good. If we trade Kim, Profar is about to fall off a cliff. That's true. But I mean, as far as trade pieces go, you're not looking at any trade pieces, I guess, other than he who got brought up today. You're not looking at any trade pieces as far as anyone on the major league roster. We were thinking like, all right, if the Padres aren't looking good come trade deadline, if they're losing to the Guardians and the Nationals and the Orioles, then yeah, we're going to be scared and it might be time to sell off guys like Profar, Kim, yada, yada, yada. Well, they just beat the Guardians and now I'm kind of confused again. This is like a super toxic relationship. I keep going back and forth on whether I want them to buy or not. And here I am after seeing them beat the Guardians, and I'm saying, all right, go ahead and buy, but I don't think they need Crochet, man. I'm going to be honest. If they get him, go ahead.
I'm just saying it's not worth it.
If they get him, I will be ecstatic. I know he's got a ton of control. I know he's amazing. I would love to have him, but this is more of a needs thing. You trade at the deadline for needs, not luxuries. To me, Garrett Crochet is a luxury. And I say that because you still got Cease for another year. You got Darvish signed long term. You got Musgrove signed long term. King's going to be here for a little bit. Waldron's solid. You got young guys, Vasquez and Brito, that you'll have for a little while. Snelling's in the minor league system. Lesko's in the minor league system. Like, you got guys that are pretty damn good in that pitching staff. And Garrett Crochet to me feels more like a luxury, whereas a guy like Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates, Carlos Estevez, Zach Eflin, stuff like that, guys like that, those are a necessity. Those are a need. You need those guys to round out your bullpen or your starting rotation. And that's who I think the Padres should go after. However, now I'll keep this short because I feel like I'm talking a lot. But if Tariq Skubal is on the market, you better give up everything to get him. That's all I'm going to say.
No, I mean, I feel like you're right. Like, maybe let's not do what you did last year, but it's just a completely different situation than last year. So I don't really think we can compare like that. It's more like this. Don't do what you did in 2021, right? With just like, why are we getting Adam Frazier? This is stupid,
That's
right?
stupid.
Like, but also don't make the one, a crazy Juan Soto trade that's just not necessary right now. Like, it's just not where you're at. Because in 2022, you're sitting pretty at the All-Star break. You know what I mean? Like you were doing like it was gonna be fine. Um, but I don't know. I'm with you, dude, because it's like I don't know. I don't think you want to go like all crazy. Scooble's really good though. He's really, really good. How much I want to see how much control he has. But like you said, he's probably not going to get moved. Even though I feel like the Tigers see how much control he has.
I don't even feel like it makes sense for the White Sox to move off Crochet, but I mean, whatever.
I kind of do because they're not like he has like a few years of control. They're gonna suck for a long time. Like by
It's
the time
true.
he's
This is
ready to
probably the
leave,
most. Yeah, this is probably the most they'll get for him.
yeah. I mean, dude. So after this year, Scooble has 2 more years of arbitration. He makes $2 million this year. So you could swing for and look, like let's pop it up real quick. He is elite. He
Oh,
is
dude,
elite.
he's fucking nasty, bro.
Look at this. This is almost Paul Skeens level right here, bro.
Dude. I mean, he's right there for the Cy Young. I think he's gonna finish top 2, top 3.
And he look, he was just as good last year, basically.
Yeah,
When he missed.
and again, it's hard for me to think that he'll get moved. But if he is on the market, that's a guy that you need to really be looking at and saying, this guy is a difference maker, not only in the fact that he doesn't have the innings limit. He doesn't even have that discussion. Whereas Crochet, you're looking at him and saying he might have an innings limit. He's at risk of injury because he's never tossed that many innings. And you're looking at Scooble and you're not saying that. You're more so saying like this guy is right there for the Cy Young award. He doesn't have any concerns regarding his durability, knock on wood. And that's probably a guy that you put on game 1 of the wild card series.
Yeah. They're not gonna trade him though. There's no way.
I don't think
right?
so either. It doesn't make sense.
Dude. You ready? So the Padres won today to make them 52-50. You want to guess what the Tigers' record is? Just also wait before the Tigers are 6 games back of the wild card. The Padres are tied for the last wild card spot. Right? What's the Tigers' record?
What division are the Tigers in? They're in the Guardians division,
Central.
right?
Central, yeah. Guardians,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm gonna guess they're 50 and I'm gonna guess they have 50 wins.
49-51.
Oh shit.
They're almost exactly where the Padres are.
I just don't see it. I don't see them moving Scooble. And from what I've seen, from what I've seen, they don't think it's like too high of a likelihood either. But I mean, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah, I don't think he'll get moved. Like maybe like they'll talk to a couple teams, but it's like you look at you look at the AL, like the landscape of it, it's like right now the Twins and the Royals are in wild card spots.
Yeah.
They can feel like they can go and jump them. You know what I mean? They've also done some stupid stuff. Like they did sign Javi Baez, guys. Like
Yeah, that was
you know, they can rebound in the next couple of years when he's there. So I don't think they're gonna move him. Yeah, man, I'm trying to think of what else, dude. Like maybe one thing I wanted to talk about. We were talking before I think we were just texting about this earlier, but we're talking about okay, so you don't have Darvish, you don't have Musgrove. And right now, the biggest because you also said you think the bullpen is maybe the thing you want to see traded for the most.
Yes.
And I kind of agree, but also just because we've seen the Padres get screwed over by the rotation in past years, like we've already seen that way too many times. Oh, basically every single year under AJ Preller, it's the same thing. Like, oh, they didn't have enough starters. Look at that. And now this year, right now, you just saw your top 3 guys throw, and they balled out. They were studs, right? They were awesome. We've seen Vasquez get better. Okay, well, who after him? Mazer? Yeah, that's not gonna work.
That's it.
All right. Darvish? All right, he's not playing. We don't know when he's coming back. We don't know what his deal is. Musgrove didn't get shoulder surgery, and it's now the same thing. And now it feels like we might not see him for the rest of the year. Yeah, he's making progress, and there's been like updates that are positive, but you cannot bank on him. So we're rocking with Johnny Brito, baby. That's basically what I think they're going to do. So, and also just for how the starters are lined up, you're playing the Nationals next week, right? Not Monday, Tuesday. Vasquez is throwing on Tuesday. Wednesday would be that fifth guy spot. It's Waldron. So since you have the off day on Monday, Waldron is either going like a 4-man rotation for this little stretch. That means that on Sunday, you're going to have someone new throw. And we both think that it's going to be Brito. And honestly, it kind of definitely should be Brito.
Should be.
He got sent down a while back, not because of performance, because he needs to get stretched out. And like, yeah, he's been up and down, but you did like trade for him to be your pitching depth.
Yeah.
And if he has to start, we're talking about trading for these arms, maybe one game, right, dude? Like maybe one game, and then he's your long reliever.
Yeah. And sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
but Mazur hasn't shown you anything to say he should even get consideration anymore. Sorry. Oh, I just wanted to say that really quick.
Yeah, that's all good. Yeah. So no, I think so. You think it's Brito too, right? Like that's who's got to start on Sunday. At least who should.
It should be Brito. I know. I mean, I don't want to hold too much against Mazur because he's young, but you're in a spot where you're trying to get that last wild card spot. You can't really afford to say like, oh, he's young. Let's just throw him back out there and see what happens. I hate to be harsh. At this point, he sucks. And Brito's had some bad outings too. Don't get me wrong, but really the only guy you should be looking at, and the reason he was sent down was to stretch him out. And at the end of the day, Matt's right. You know, you traded for him so that way he can be that starting rotation depth. I mean, at one point I was thinking he was going to be the main guy over Vasquez. So I'm thinking Johnny Brito should be the first guy up. After now that it's after the All-Star break, it shouldn't be Mazur, man. It shouldn't be anyone but Johnny Brito. I feel like he's the most ready to go out, and it's one start. If he sucks, oh well, throw him back in there as a long reliever. But if he's good, you're hoping that, you know, this is a guy that, hey, oh shit, we have like 13 games. Or I don't think that's the case for the rest of the year. The Padres have a ton of breaks here soon. But, oh, shit, we got like 13 games over the next 14 days. Might need to start from somebody. Johnny Brito, Randy Vasquez, maybe.
And that's also why I think you're right to say that the bullpen is a bigger need, because you are potentially getting two guys back. Like, you don't know. That is true. But you are potentially getting them back. You have it set up where you don't, like... The only thing is, like, the risky part is just, like, if you didn't have that and someone else went down, you would be in a horrible, horrible spot. That would be the problem. Like, you're really just banking, like, none of these other guys can get hurt, knock on wood. Because like that, you're just like probably cooked if that goes down. However, it does make the most sense to have him come up. And also, like, you don't really have a true long reliever in the pen right now. So if he comes back and he's stretched out, we just talked to, Austin Davis potentially, like a couple guys that you could potentially send down. Okay. Then he comes back and yeah, you're down early in a game. You're down 6-0. Someone got rocked, whatever. Let's say Vasquez got rocked one game, right? It's the third inning. It's 6-0. You're losing. Okay. Well, guess what? Johnny Brito is going to throw the rest of the game. Like, you're going to save your guys. You have a lot of off days. So I'm with you, dude. I think that's got to be the move. And then also, like, that doesn't mean that you don't go trade for like maybe like a lefty, like someone that's like not super expensive, but it just puts you in a spot where like you don't have to go trade for a big starter. Go trade for a really good bullpen arm. I think that's going to help them more throughout the season. I honestly think that, because if you have Tanner Scott and you have Jeremiah, and that's your two setup guys that you can go with and go, you're in a tight game. It's like today, it's a tight game, and like you're like, and your starter doesn't go 7. Well, then you get each of those guys and then Suarez, and you're feeling good. You're feeling really good if that's the situation.
Yep.
So, and especially too, the other thing is you get Fernando back and this offense is exploding. You might not be in a lot of these super tight games sometimes. Like, you might get up on some of these teams, but you need to be able to win the tight games because they still struggle to do that. They've had some sick comebacks. Like, and I don't want to say like they keep like shooting themselves in the foot, because I don't feel like this team has done that. Like, they've more been on the opposite end. But they have choked a lot of games, and they have choked a lot of games, and the offense bailed them out, which has really helped them. But they've also choked a lot of those games from the bullpen. I mean, look at that crazy win against the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
What were you up 6 runs in the 9th inning? 7 runs, something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like dude, and they end up winning the game, but it's like, yeah, that was not a comfortable win when it should have just been a cakewalk at the end of it.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. I
I don't
will
know.
say one thing before, I don't know if we're done yet, but I'll say one thing. That All-Star break could not have come at a worse time for Manny Machado. Manny Machado was fucking crazy before the All-Star break. He was so good. And I
Your mic did it again.
there we go. Throughout that whole All-Star break, I was just thinking about how that break couldn't have come at a worse time for Manny because Manny was so hot at the plate. Walk off. I mean, I didn't get to watch a week of Padres baseball, so maybe he didn't do that good the week that I didn't watch. But the last few games that I had watched, and before that, Manny was hot at the plate. But I mean, you're looking at it from a lineup standpoint. Profar was an all-star. Merrill's good. Fernando should be coming back within the next month, hopefully. He was an all-star. Obviously, one of the best players in baseball. Arias, probably better suited off as a DH. But great hitter. Kind of cold lately, but great hitter. Cronenworth's been a lot better. I think Bogaerts will be okay. Manny was hot. Higgy's a god. Campusano finally changed back to his regular stance. Got rid of the stupid stance. I mean, this lineup's dangerous, man. One hot, this lineup is super dangerous.
No, it's true, and I want to see what he. I'm looking at his Savant page right now. I want to see like his like recent games, right? Like I'm trying to like get a gauge on like how hot he actually was. But he was balling out, like he definitely was, no doubt. Like, he had a bunch of hits, and well, he started to slump kind of towards the end. He had a 4-for-5 game against the Diamondbacks though,
Yeah.
so I don't know. He had a 3-for-4 game against the Braves. Like he did do some stuff. Then he came back this week, went 0 for every single game
Yep.
in this series.
Yep.
Also, I don't know if you've seen this. This is concerning, and this is why we've been really worried about Machado. He looks like, and I get that he's hurt, but he looks physically cooked.
Yep.
I don't think you've seen this. Look at this.
I think the same thing.
Look at this.
Yep.
You see that?
Yep.
Watch this.
I've been thinking that this whole time. This whole time I've been thinking, why does this guy not look the same defensively? And now my fears have been confirmed.
Yeah, so they're gonna. I mean, he just hasn't been healthy. Like I get it, but that's the risk of signing a guy when he's old. So you're gonna need. I mean, also the other thing is like Padres make the playoffs and stuff. Like I guess it's not like entirely dependent on Machado, but if Machado balls out and is the Manny Machado that we've seen, the Padres will make the playoffs.
Oh yeah,
that's the difference. Is like if they do that, they will make the playoffs. But it's getting really sus with the Bogaerts and Machado's contracts. Like they're probably the biggest reason last year why the Padres don't make the playoffs because they were horrendous with runners in scoring position, grounding in a bunch of double plays. This year, Bogaerts has been hurt, but when he's been on the field, he's been pretty terrible. Though I saw some people talking about him earlier, like he has been hitting well, like over his last 7, even though like since he's been back, he's been hitting pretty good. All right. But and also right before he got hurt, he was hitting pretty good. But then Machado, it's like, dude, he's not been good. Like he's had like a nice little stretch this year, and it's like no power. He looks like he's cooked, like physically. Like that is terrifying stuff. So hopefully that's not the case. But like, and also I don't know if you know this, Isaac, Manny leads the MLB in
double plays, right?
In double plays, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, dude, not ideal whatsoever. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for us today, guys. Thank you for hopping on. It's been a little bit since we've been recording, so hopefully we'll do some more videos and stuff. Now we're actually back, so we're not like insanely busy or out of town. I was gone like 3 or 4 weeks. Isaac was gone for a couple weeks. Chase, honestly, I don't even know what Chase is up to. Chase is just, I think he's just working a lot and trying to find another job and like doing a bunch of stuff. So we've been a busy little stretch, but honestly, like now it's the time where stuff is heating up, which is exciting that we didn't have all that stuff going on like, in the next 3 weeks, because the next 3 weeks were like big time, and then the August for the Padres team, like they're gonna have to ball out in August. It's a very easy schedule, but we know what happens when they have these easy schedules.
Oh, God.
And I think the difference though, Isaac, is like you have the easy schedule, But they aren't just like, oh, whatever, it's May, we're playing the Rockies. It's like, okay, we're playing the Rockies, but we have to beat the Rockies.
Yeah.
Like we're in a playoff race. So
They got
hopefully
a
that's
sense of
the difference.
urgency. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, thanks for hopping on. Thanks for listening. Happy to be back. Happy to be talking Padres baseball. And it's very good that they beat the Guardians in this series. So thank you all. Have a good one. And we'll talk to y'all soon. See ya.